Welcome to everyone. This is Babu Rao Kunchala. Today I would like to discuss about temple architecture, which is very important for UPSC, mains as well as prelims exam. It's not only for UPSC, it's not only important for UPSC, temple architecture important for all competitive exams. So, I will discuss both preliminary point of view and mains point of view in this class. So, before going to discuss about temple architecture, we need to know history about temple architecture. If you observe ancient India, if you look into Paleolithic period, Mesolithic or Neolithic, is there any architecture? Is there any temple architecture in Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic period? No, there was no temple architectures. So after Paleolithic, Chalcolithic period, if you observe, again Chalcolithic period also, there was no temples. So if you observe, then again Indus Valley civilization, the first civilization in India, and it's not only important, it's not only important civilization with respect to India, it is a unique civilization when compared to the rest of the civilization like Sumerian civilization, that is called Mesopotamian civilization, Chinese civilization and Egypt civilization. So Indus Valley people worship Mother Goddess and Pashupati Mahadeva. Even though they worship Mother Goddess and Pashupati Mahadeva, they didn't construct any temples in South India, in Indus Valley civilization. So they worship Mother Goddess and Pashupati Mahadeva, but they didn't construct any temples architecture. So you may get one doubt, and our archaeological department has been found a great bath at Mohenjo-daro area. But great bath, we don't know whether it is exactly for religious purpose or some other purpose. We don't know. We can't consider it as a religious architecture. So, and there were no temples in IVC, Indus Valley civilization. Then after IVC and Vedic period, early Vedic period and later Vedic period. Vedic period itself, the gods and goddesses like Indra, Varuna, right? Vayu, Yama, Surya, Soma, these gods and Atithi, these gods and goddesses. Even though they worship natural gods and goddesses, Vedic people worship natural gods and goddesses, but however they didn't build any temples architectures again. They didn't build any temple architecture. So after Vedic Mauryans, after Vedic, Magadhas who ruled, Magadha dynasty, after Magadha Mauryans, but Magadha dynasty ruler like Ajashatru, like Binsara, Ajashatru, and all these one, they follower of the, and all these one, they're follower of the something like a Buddhism and Jainism. So they didn't follow they didn't follow Vedic philosophy or Brahmanism. So they didn't build any constructions. So next one, after Magadha, Mauryan Empire. Again Mauryan Empire is also rulers like Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusara and Ashoka and Dasharatha, these people who are followed Jainism and Ajivika Buddhism. They didn't follow Vedic philosophy or Brahmanism. So though they didn't build any temples. But Mauryans who have started first time cave architecture. The caves, some caves allocated or donated to the Ajivika sect. Some caves donated later, it donated to the Buddhist monks. You know, caves like here, viharas and chaityas. But that's a different story. I will explain later. But they didn't build temples. But first time in India, temples were built by Guptas. It's very, very important. First time in India, temples were built by Guptas in northern part of India. Then the contemporary same period, and it is same as a little bit same period. In Deccan part of India, Ikshvakus, Deccan part of India ruled by the Ikshvakus, and Ikshvakus construct temples in Deccan part. Ikshvaku dynasty rulers. Is it clear? So next one, Ikshvaku dynasty rulers. One side, I mean, they build temples in Deccan part India, and northern part of India, Guptas who are built temples. You know, after this, important one here, southern part of India, where you can see Cheras, Chola, Pandya, Chera, Chola, Pandyas, Pallavas, who ruled the southern part of India. In southern part of India, Pallavas started first time temple architecture, and later this architecture was developed by Cholas. So anyway, if you observe whole India, like here northern part or central India or southern part India or western India or eastern India, different style of temple architecture you can find. You can find different style. So like here northern part of temples, northern part of India and North Indian temples, if you observe, or when you compare with the Dravidian or South Indian temples, then you can see number of differences. At the same time here, if you compare North Indian temples and South Indian temples with western part of temples, again you can find number of differences. So different rulers constructed temples in different areas based on different styles. So that's why in India we can call number of temple architectures. Out of this number, we can take here three important temple architectures in India: northern part, south part and western part. And northern part of Indian temple architecture called Nagara style temple architecture, whereas southern part or Dravidians area, so that style of temple architecture called Dravidian style of temple architecture. In western part, like a Karnataka area, particularly ruled by the Badami Chalukyas, who was developed a new architecture that is called Vesara style temple architecture. VESARA, Vesara style of temple architecture. So anyway, so style of temple architectures. First one, Dravidian style of temple architecture. Second one, Nagara style of temple architecture. Third one, Vesara. Fourth one, here these three architectures were main important styles of temple architecture: Dravidian, Nagara, Vesara. So rest of the architectures actually started based on these three main styles of architectures. That's why we call it as sub-schools. So Odissi school and Khajuraho school architectures, and Solanki school. Odissi, Khajuraho, Solanki school architecture based on, architecture based on Nagara style architecture. Next one, Nayaka school, Vijayanagara school and Hoysala architectures based on Dravidian style of architecture. Pala school, it's a mixing, it's also based on the Nagara style of temple architecture. So three main temple architectures. Based on these three main architectures, we can see some sub-schools of temple architectures. Okay, right? So I will discuss one by one. So Dravidian style of temple architecture. If you look here, a temple, that is Brodeshwara temple, is exactly here a good example for Dravidian style of temple architecture. Dravidian style of temple architecture. You know, Dravidian style of temple architecture started by Pallavas, but it developed under Cholas. Very, very important. Started by Pallavas and developed under Cholas. That means here these architecture patronized by Cholas. So before going to discuss about this architecture, we need to know how Pallavas developed. How Pallavas were developed this architecture. Pallavas developed this architecture based on 4 phases. Then 4 pages is a different rulers ruled Pallava dynasty. One Mahendra Varma, Narasimha Varma, and Mahendra Varma and Narasimha Varma. Then here first one Mahendra Varma. Mahendra Varma group first started temple architectures. Actually, at the time here they didn't call that architecture as a temples. So they started first rock cut temples. Those rock cut temples are called mandapas. Those rock cut temples are called mandapas under Mahendra Varma group. Under Mahendra Varma. So generally mandapa means assembly. Mandapa means assembly. Assembly hall. But here a starting stage mandapas are just a temples. So they didn't call it a temple. They called just a mandapas, assembly halls. So under Mahendra Varma group. Second one, Narasimha Varma group. Those rock cut temples were decorated with intricate sculptures. Rock cut temples were started by Mahendra Varma. Those rock cut temples were decorated with intricate sculptures. That means intricate carvings under Narasimha Varma group. So these decorated rock cut temples or intricate rock cut temples are called Radhas. It's very, very important. First under Mahendra Varma, those rock cut temples are called mandapas, but here under Narasimha, second phase, under Narasimha Varma, those rock cut temples are called Radhas. There are 2 types of Radhas. One is Dharmaraj Radha, second one is Draupadi Radha. Dharmaraj Radha generally is a big Radhas. Draupadi Radhas were actually small Radhas. So these Dharmaraj Radhas became later as a temples. So temple architecture. So next under Pallavas, third group here Rajasimha, and after Mahendra Varma, Narasimha Varma, third person Rajasimha group. Real structured temple started here. Rajasimha group, real temple architecture started here. Then the example for this one, Shore temple and Kailashnath temple. Shore temple at Mahabalipuram and Kailashnath temple at Kanchi area. These 2 temples were built by the Pallavas. Next one, Nandi Varman group, a last rulers of the Pallava dynasty, Nandi Varma. Under him, a small temples were built under him. Small temples. So small temples, then here from here onwards, Dravidian style of temple architecture started. Under Nandi Varman, Dravidian style of temple architecture started. And under him, small temples were built. So after Nandi Varma, Cholas who followed, Chola dynasty rulers followed Pallavas architecture and developed completely as a Dravidian style of architecture. So right, so these are one of the history of temple architecture in South India or Dravidian style of temple architecture. So Cholas, how Cholas developed this temple architecture in southern part of India or Dravidian style of temple architecture. Some features of Dravidian temple architecture. Temples has a unique features like a Nagara, it has a unique features, and Dravidian style, it had a unique features. So here features of Dravidian temple architecture. First one, higher boundary walls. That is the compound walls. Higher boundary walls or compound walls. You cannot find higher boundary walls or compound walls in Nagara style. Second one is Gopuram. Gopuram is one of the unique feature of the Dravidian style of architecture. You cannot find Gopuram in Nagara style. Third one is Panchayatin style. Yeah, both is a similar one. Panchayatin style of architecture. I think UPSC asked this question in 2014. What is Panchayatin? Panchayatin is a style of temple architecture. Panchayatin means here, Panch means 5. One main deity middle of the temple. This main deity is surrounded by 4 subsidiary shrines. Let us take one example. Suppose here the main deity is Shiva and subsidiary shrines. One side here Parvati Devi temple, one side Vinayaka temple, one side Kumaraswamy temple, one side Ayyappa temple. That means main deity Shiva, subsidiary shrines here 4 small temples. That is called Panchayatin style of architecture. Both Nagara and Dravidian style, both style followed this Panchayatin style architecture. Next one is Vimana. If we observe on Garbhagruha, there is a one pyramid shape of the tower. Pyramid shape of the tower, that tower is called Vimana. You can see in Tirumala if you go to the Vimana Venkateshwara. So that Vimana one thing. And next one here, Antarala. Antarala, Antarala, vestibular. Antarala is actually connected Garbhagruha and Mandapa. Antarala actually it is existed between Garbhagruha and Mandapa. Mandapa means assembly hall. When you enter the Garbhagruha, you can find this Antarala. I mean it is between Garbhagruha and Mandapa. That place is called Antarala. So next one, in front of the Garbhagruha, you can see some Dwarapalas. Dwarapalas means you security guards like a security for main guards. Dwarapalas in Dravidian style, you can observe Dwarapalas or Midun or Yakshas, both left and right side of the Garbhagruha. But whereas here if you observe the Nagara style, you cannot find the Dwarapalas in Nagara style. You can find their river goddesses like Ganga and Yamuna. Goddesses sculptures. Left side and right side of the Garbhagruha. But here in Dravidian style of architecture, you can find Dwarapalas, Miduna and Yakshas in front of the Garbhagruha, left and right side. That means security to provide security to the main deity. Next unique feature here, water tank. Water tank is one of the main feature. You cannot find water tank in Nagara style. You cannot find water tank in Nagara style. Water tank in the sense Koneru. You can find Koneru in southern part of temples. I mean southern India. And particularly if you visit the temples like Tirumala or Tiruvannamalai, some other temple like Chidambaram and southern part. It is a common feature for the Dravidian style of architecture. Water tank. What is the purpose of the water tank? For bath, main deity. It's not for devotees actually. The purpose for bath for main deity. So next one here, example for Dravidian style of architecture. Brihadeshwara temple is a complete, clear-cut example for Dravidian style. It was built by Rajaraja I. Second one, Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple built by the Rajendra I. Actually, Gangaikonda Cholapuram, a temple built by the Rajendra I to commemorate his victory in the Gangetic Delta. It is one of the symbol of victory. Rajendra one was the only one ruler of Chola dynasty who invaded to Gangetic area. Is the only one southern ruler. South Indian ruler went to North India. So right. So now here you can see a common architecture of the Dravidian style. It is a Garbhagriha, and here Vimana, you can observe Vimana, pyramid shape, and subsidiary shrine, 4 subsidiary shrines, and you can see in front of the temple Gopuram and main gate. Gopuram is main gate, and compound wall, and Antarala, and water tank. These are the main features of Dravidian style of architecture. Chola sculpture. So under Cholas, the main important art, Chola sculpture. So here Chola sculpture, the bronze sculpture, bronze Nataraja sculpture. Actually bronze Nataraja sculpture was developed by Cholas. But first it was developed by the Chalukyas. This bronze sculpture is famous during the time of the Chalukya period. But later it got peak stage under Cholas. Chalukyas mainly you can observe in Aihole area. Aihole. You can observe in Aihole area. Chalukya, Aihole inscription and area. So then what is the purpose of the Nataraja? You can see Tandava dance. What is the purpose of this Nataraja sculpture? Actually Nataraja sculpture, if you look this sculpture, you can understand Shiva is the only creator, Shiva is the only destroyer, Shiva is the only protector. Actually Cholas were the follower of the Shaivism. So Cholas strongly believed Shiva is the only person. Shiva is the only person who created this universe. Shiva is the only person who created this universe and who protect this universe and who's destroy the universe. And Shiva is the only one person who gives moksha. So that means here Cholas believed Shiva is the only one person created this total universe. So I will explain by looking this sculpture, then you come to know. After explanation, you come to know. So Shiva who has 4 hands here if you observe. And upper right hand he used Abhaya Mudra. Lower right hand he used Abhaya Mudra. Upper right hand he used Damarakam. Upper right hand he holds Damarakam. Damarakam is a symbol or Damarakam which produces this sound. Then according to Hindu Dharma, according to Dharma, then the universe created from the sound. Universe created from the sound, that is called Omkaram. So now Shiva who hold one drum in his right hand, upper right hand, that produce sound. From that sound he was created universe. And upper left hand he hold eternal fire. Then the fire symbol here, he is the only person who destroy the universe. He can also destroy the universe by using the fire. Upper right hand and upper left hand. Then if it comes to your right hand, lower right hand, he showed Abhaya Mudra. He is showing Abhaya Mudra. Abhaya Mudra means protector. Abhaya Mudra, don't fear, I am here. Shiva saying here, don't fear, I am here. Abhaya Mudra. Then here lower left hand showing towards the upraised left leg. Lower left hand showing towards the upraised left leg. That means that is a moksha marga. That is showing moksha marga. Moksha means salvation. Then here moksha, if you break the life cycle, you can get moksha. Death and birth, it's continuation process. It's a continuation process. So if you break this life cycle, then you can get moksha. The ultimate meaning of the moksha, your soul or atma merged with the Paramatma. If your soul merged with the Paramatma or super soul, that means here you got the moksha. So right, next one, Shiva. And one side if you observe here, Shiva who holds one earrings, left side here, but anyway 2 ears, and he wear earrings here, left side particularly female earring. Female earrings is shown here, Ardhanadishwara. Shiva is the one of the Ardhanadishwara, and who gave his half of his body to his wife, Parvati Devi, Ardhanadishwara. Next one, Shiva twisted some snakes, hand, and at the same time here neck. That is actually her Kundalini power. Kundalini power, that means your conscious, always your spine always in dormant stage. Once if you wake up, you are conscious, then you can get, once you wake up, then you can get, conscious or enlightenment. So next one, then if you observe here cycle and life, here if you observe some lights surrounded the Shiva, some circle with lights. So that is a circle here, life cycle. That is a life cycle. That is your life cycle. That means here birth and death and birth and death. So next one, if you observe here Shiva right hand, actually he put right hand on one dwarf. On one dwarf. The dwarf is actually your ego. You have to kill your ego. Then only you can achieve enlightenment. So next one, Shiva hair. If you observe here Shiva hair here, then that is a symbol for water, Ganga. So here almost this Chola sculpture. Chola sculpture explain, bronze Nataraja sculpture explain about Shiva, and they strongly believed